And joining me now is Jonathan Schanzer, Executive Director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, former U.S. Treasury terror finance analyst, and a great guest to talk us through what's going on with these topics. All right, so let's talk about how significant the cancellation of that second wave of strikes is after a successful first operation, and why you think Trump says all ships will stay in place even if the strikes are canceled. What do you make of it?
Well, I think there's a couple things to look at here. Number one, we're still capturing some of these oil tankers that are trying to leave Venezuela. We've hit 5 so far. I think that's actually really important. Some of them tied to Hezbollah in Iran. So there's important reverberations in the Middle East. And I think we're going to probably see more of that. There's a deterrence factor here also. If you want to get the Venezuelan government to cooperate with us, well, they need to see that there are consequences if they don't cooperate. But I do think that it was probably important that he cancel those strikes. The fact that we've seen the release of some of those prisoners, especially amidst some of the controversy that we're seeing here at home, I think Donald Trump is trying to thread the needle between trying to follow through on American interests on the one hand, but also getting buy-in from Congress and from the American people on the other. I think this all came as a huge surprise. It was a rapid escalation here. And so I think we're all sort of trying to take a breather to try to figure out what comes next.
You know, as we're taking a look at the calendar here, Trump met with top U.S. oil companies who he says wants to invest $100 billion in Venezuela's oil sector. So let's listen to that. No sound? All right. Well, listen, it happened. Many experts say that they don't expect U.S. companies to go into Venezuela amid all the current turmoil there. So as we take a look at how that's playing out, what do you expect to see from these companies regarding Venezuela in the short term? And then, of course, we've got to look at the long term, too.
Well, look, public companies really don't like risk, right? And I think oil companies are generally considered to be, on the conservative side of things. So I'm not surprised to see some of them balk. There will be some variance within. Some will be braver than others, and maybe they'll start the process. I think the guarantees provided by the United States government that need to extend beyond the Trump years, I think that's going to be an important part of this. The profit sharing thing, I don't know how attractive that's going to be, depending on how many companies are actually involved in this process, especially when you're yielding some of those profits back to the Venezuelan people. But I do think that if the idea is energy dominance, and this is, of course, a major goal of the Trump administration, they're going to have to figure out how to extract and refine and export. That's going to be an important part of what happens next. It shouldn't be the only reason why we're there, but it certainly should be a benefit for the United States.
And then you've also got Trump discussing his plans for selling Venezuela's oil. There's that. The Energy Department says proceeds will be routed through U.S.-controlled accounts, then be distributed under U.S. discretion for Americans and Venezuelans. I'm not sure how that's supposed to play out, but how do you think that could play out?
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with whatever we broker with the whatever's left of the regime in Venezuela right now. I mean, you have a vice president who I guess is gonna be a caretaker government, Delcy Rodriguez. I don't know how long she stays in power for, but for the time being, we're working with her to broker whatever this next arrangement is. And then I think, hopefully we'll see elections at some point soon. Maybe we'll see Maria Machado come in as the elected president of Venezuela with the idea of working with the United States. But there's a lot we need to get through here in order to get to an arrangement that feels like it's safe and comfortable for both sides. We are definitely in the very beginning stages of whatever we're trying to build in Venezuela right now. And so I think patience is really going to be a virtue.
All right. Thank you so much for bringing us all of that. Thank you for joining us, Jonathan Schanzer. We'll talk again soon.